soldiers, 10,000 young men, and the last Scottish king to die in battle was James IV. He perished on the battlefield. So the good people of Edinburgh built a wall around the city and they called it the Flodden Wall. This, however, is the Georgian New Town, and the Georgian New Town came about in 1767, and it took about 50 years to build. 3 principal streets, Princes Street behind me, the middle street of George Street and Queen Street, with squares at each end of the city. What's remarkable about the new town is that a young man by the name of James Craig designed it. He was 24 years of age. 24. And you design a Georgian new town. Quite incredible. And probably one of the most important Georgian new towns ever built, in actual fact. Edinburgh built on 3 volcanoes. The Castle Rock was a volcano. Carlton Hill, stop number 2, was a volcano. And Arthur's Seat was a volcano. 340 million years ago. When we look at the Royal Mile's like that. It goes from the Castle Rock, which was a volcano, right the way down to the palace. So what was that? Quite simply, that was the lava that flowed down to form the very first street road in Edinburgh. So it's a very interesting place, Scotland, as far as geology is concerned. And we're very proud to say that James Hutton was born in Edinburgh, one of the founding fathers of geology. He was part of Scottish Enlightenment, and he was a very brave man, because in a deeply religious society, he said the world is not thousands of years old, it's millions of years old. And I remind you, there's no standing or walking on this bus at any time for your own safety, so if you just wait until we get to a designated stop. On your right hand side, the Balmoral Hotel. Balmoral is a Scottish Gaelic word. It means majestic dwelling. And some of you might know that the Queen stays at Balmoral Castle in Scotland, majestic dwelling. On your left-hand side, Register House. If you've got any Scottish connections, that's the place to go. Designed by Robert Adam, possibly Scotland's greatest architect. The road to Leith, where the royal yacht Britannia is permanently docked. If you look in front of the bus, does anybody want stop number 2 for Carlton Hill, a panoramic view of the city? Carlton Hill. Everybody staying with me? Nobody upstairs, Maro, thank you. This is the Nelson Monument, and on the top is a ball. That ball goes up at 5 to 1 each day and comes down at 1 o'clock. Why? So the sailors in the port of Leith in the old days could set their chronometers correctly. It's a very foggy city, so counteract that, the 1 o'clock cannon goes off each day as well. These are both traditions in Scotland right to today. This takes place Monday to Saturday, never on a Sunday. On your right hand side, St Andrew's House, formerly the Scottish office, now part of the Scottish Government. That was opened in 1939. On your right hand side, ladies and gentlemen, is a graveyard. The man who invented the crossword puzzle is buried down there. It's 3 graves down, 4 graves across. The old jokes are the best. Although some of you weren't laughing very much there, right? Okay, this is the former Royal High School of Edinburgh. Now this is one of the tragedies of Edinburgh. This building has not been in use since 1968. It's 190 years old. It's Greek Doric style. It was designated to be used for the new Scottish Parliament at one stage, but they decided on a new building. Now it's very controversial at the moment, because either it's going to be bought by a multinational hotel firm, I'm going to turn it into a luxury hotel with a glass roof and glass extensions, or the people of Edinburgh overwhelmingly wanted to become a music school. So there's a battle going on in the courts. Now a local man wrote to the evening newspaper in Edinburgh, now this is an exaggeration, but I still like the imagery. He said if they put glass extensions on each end of this magnificent building, it would be the equivalent of putting Mickey Mouse's ears on the Mona Lisa. Now it's a slight exaggeration, but you get the image. Now I don't know about you, I don't see that as a luxury hotel. I mean, unless you fundamentally change the building. So for instance, where are the windows? Well, I can see one or two windows, and you're going to put a glass roof on it. So you've got to change what is undoubtedly one of the finest buildings in Edinburgh. It doesn't look that at the moment because it's going to ruin, but if they got together, like I said, it was going to be used for the Scottish Parliament one stage, which would have been very grand. Can I draw your attention on the right-hand side to Arthur's Seat in the middle, which was a volcano, as I've already said, and that's Salisbury Crag that goes right along there to the right. And you're not leaving Edinburgh. If this is your first time in the beautiful city of Edinburgh, these hills are right in the city centre. Isn't that amazing? This is not outside the city, right in the city centre. They go for 1 square mile and have 3 lakes or locks within the vicinity. We're going to wind our way around there. Will you have a look on your left-hand side through the trees? These are some of the most expensive houses in Edinburgh. Some of them are consulates, some of them are hotels, but most of them are private residences. Old money, new money does not get to live there. Footballers, no. Pop singers, no. Film actors, no. It's rather posh. I live at number 12. We're coming to the traffic lights here in front of the bus. And when we get there, I want you to look on your left-hand side at Easter Road. And in 1561, Mary, Queen of Scots, came up Easter Road on a beautiful white stallion. She was born in Linlithgow, 16 miles outside the city in West Lothian. At the age of 5, she was sent to France for her own protection, the politics of the day. Her mother, Mary of Guise, who was French, became the regent of Scotland. Mary was brought up in the French court. She married Francois, the King of France, but he died. Her mother died, and at the age of 18, she came up that road. She was very much alone. The Scottish Reformation had taken place. Mary was devout Catholic. Scotland had become predominantly a Protestant country, not exclusively, but predominantly a Protestant, Calvinist, Presbyterian country. Mary was only to be here for another 6 years. Rather foolishly, she went down to England for protection. She was arrested, and she was under house arrest for 18 years, and she was executed at the age of 44. A very tragic life of Mary, Queen of Scots. Mary, Queen of Scots could have quite easily been the Queen of England, Scotland and France, and she lost everything. Her cousin, Queen Elizabeth I, when asked why she never met her cousin Mary, gave an incredible answer, not the answer that you would expect. Remember, Elizabeth signed the death warrant of Mary, Queen of Scots. She said, "I never wanted to meet Mary." And this will amaze you. Why? Because I think I would have liked her. Isn't that sad? The politics of the day. She couldn't afford to like Mary. She was a political enemy. Mary was the legitimate queen, of course. Elizabeth was the illegitimate queen. When Elizabeth died, Mary's son, who was born in Edinburgh Castle in 1561, became joint king of England and Scotland. The first thing he did was take the royal court down to London. He only came back to Scotland once when he was king, just one more time. So it's a very important event in Scottish English history and so on and so forth. He was brought up very strictly a Protestant, and he was taken away from Mary at the age of 12 months. And I've been reading about James recently, and it's incredible the education and the child that he had, because for a future king it was quite brutal. A very, very strict childhood. Most of it, his education took place in Stirling. Stirling's a really interesting place to go. Anybody been to Stirling Castle? Yeah? Very interesting castle, Stirling. So she came up that road, 1561, and she obviously lived in Holyrood Palace for a time. Does anybody want the next stop? Stop number 3 for the Royal Palace of Holyrood.